Let's move on to some politics and social media where some of you, no surprises, you're just continuing to piss me off. Why? Because every time I make a comment that's critical of the Democratic Party or the left, I get accused of being a pundit for the right. Prior to the election cycle, I voiced my concerns about Joe Biden and his ability to serve as second term as president. Then Biden stepped on the debate stage in late June and revealed what many suspected. He embarrassed himself. The White House and the Democrats eventually switched to Vice President Kamala Harris when he stepped away, who ultimately ran what some would say a valiant presidential campaign, at least in the eyes of some, that ultimately fell short with voters across the country. I pointed out my concerns with the campaign and the Democratic Party along the way, and many of you wanted to accuse me of being a voice for the right. So you know what? I feel like it's time to set the record straight because ain't nobody hiding, ain't nobody running. Okay? Let me be very, very clear. I'm a registered independent because I don't trust either side. I think both sides are full of it on so many levels and so many circumstances, it's nauseating. But I also want to take a moment because a lot of people out there on social media have been saying to me, here, Stephen A., you take these positions, you're frustrated with the Democratic Party, but then you voted for Kamala Harris against Trump. Why? It's very, very simple. I believe that Donald Trump has been a divisive figure. And I was thinking coming into this election that the last thing we needed was 4 more years of what we saw the last time, where there was so much strife and so much division that even though the economy clearly was doing well under his watch before COVID struck, it was just too much for the country to take.
So let me get this straight. You're a registered independent, but you regularly vote Democrat. You were also friends with Trump, but then you switched sides on him, even though you know that he wasn't a divisive figure, is that it was being marketed that way in order to keep him out of being president of the United States again in his 47th term. You now switch sides and you become even more critical of Democrats because you're playing both sides of the fence. And then at the same time, you know that he was good for the economy. He was good for everything that was happening in the United States of America, including immigration, no new wars, and making sure that he put money in our pockets. But then you still decided to vote for Kamala Harris because you felt like he was divisive, even though you knew him personally. Got it.
Was fearful of civil war in this country. It wasn't so much that he was supportive of white supremacists and he was this racist and all of this stuff like people were saying. I didn't engage in that incendiary rhetoric because I've always believed that Donald Trump was just somebody who did things that were politically expedient.
So you went against your belief system to vote for something that you knew was worse for the country. Got it.
One side was going to generate votes for him, he would flow with it. And if it was not going to support his cause, he wasn't. It's just simple. It's just that simple. Why did I say that? And why did I refrain from that incendiary rhetoric that was thrown in his direction? It was because I knew Donald Trump before he ran for president. And black, whites, male, females, and everybody in between got along with him great. So for all of a sudden, everybody to stand up and act like he was this pariah was BS.
So why did you say that he was too divisive for the country just a couple minutes ago? Got it.
But I was also acknowledging he didn't help his own cause. From the moment in 2015 when he strolled down those escalators with Melania, the man offended 50% of the population back then in 2015. Came across as xenophobic in the eyes of many. And it just seemed to go downhill from there. So after he served his 4 years in the White House, I didn't want to repeat all of that. But I didn't call him a racist. I didn't compare him to Nazis. I didn't sit up there and accuse him of befriending white supremacists and all of that stuff because I knew no matter what people believed, they were trying to politicize it. So when I thought about him against Kamala Harris, I said, excuse me, let me make sure Republicans are in the House and the Senate. You have somebody that's going to work with both sides in the White House and we'll have peace domestically. That's what I was thinking.
So you completely ignored every single red flag. The fact that she was incompetent, the fact that they failed at the borders, the fact that they continued to propagate and advocate for more new war. The fact that they continue to let migrants come in and take over entire cities. The fact that we continue to, like, all of these things have already been discussed, and we decided to make our voice known. Stephen A. Smith, in my opinion, is a habitual fence rider. And he does not want to make a commitment and say, hey, I really want to be Republican, but I don't want to be disliked by Democrats because I know that that is a core audience, or that is one of the core people that support me on these platforms. Until it became a little bit more popular to become Republican, and that's why he's continuing to switch sides. I don't know why he just won't stand on it, but maybe this works in the eyes of media.
But under no circumstances was I this raving supporter of Kamala Harris. I saw her during the primaries in 2020. I saw that she couldn't get to Iowa. I saw her comments about transgenders, particularly those in prison that wanted sex changes. I saw how incoherent she appeared in communicating what her objective would be when it came to the economy. I know for a fact that she was supposed to oversee the issues involving the border. Yes, like Roland Martin said, she wasn't the quote-unquote border czar, but she was perceived as such. I also saw her go on The View and categorically deny
that she was any different than Biden.
That there was any need to change anything that Biden had done, even though over 12 million people crossed the border illegally, and you were acting like there was no border crisis. I saw the duplicitous tendencies. I saw the inconsistencies. I also saw the hypocrisy.
But you voted for it, though, right? For
and
peace.
As the election came about
for peace
and ultimately unfolded, and I saw Donald Trump win convincingly. No, he did not get 50% of the popular vote, as the Democrats are so quick to point out. My attitude to them is shut the hell up. Nobody wants to hear that now. Who cares whether he got 50% of the vote or not? He beat you.
I'm always amazed because I never see anybody admit that they actually voted for Biden. That's number one, especially a part of the black community. But we know that they did. And I'm always amazed at the fact that it's a lot of people that just won't say, you know what, y'all was right. We was off. Thank y'all for dragging us across the finish line. Thank you for SoftBank now investing up to $200 billion inside of the United States over the next 4 years. Thank you for making sure that we hold Mexico accountable for $300 billion trade deficit. Thank you for making sure that we hold Canada accountable for over $100 billion trade deficit. Thank you for Donald Trump calling out these drone sightings. Thank you for Donald Trump now putting in Tom Homan as the borders are so that he can get these people up out of here that ain't supposed to be here illegally. Thank you for putting RFK Jr. in place so that he can fight the fight on behalf of our food and our supply sources. You know, instead of them just admitting that they were wrong, they're trying to act like they was always rocking with you in the first. Oh, no, I was regular independent. No, you wasn't. You voted Democrat your entire life. We don't care what you register as. We care what your vote is like. And there's nothing wrong with being wrong, because at some point we was all wrong, largely because we were taking advice from people that may or may not have been in our best interest, or they were ignorant themselves and didn't make the right decisions. And now we have the ability to choose for ourselves. And instead of just being real with it, saying I want to be a part of the Republican Party, and I decided to be a part of the Go Along, Get Along gang before that, you fence ride. That's the thing that people don't like. It's the fence riding.
In the popular vote and the Electoral College vote. He swept the swing states. He improved his numbers in every demographic imaginable. Blacks, Hispanics, women. He beat you. And the American people spoke, and they spoke flagrantly. And from that moment forward, I'm like, damn all of that. We're going to support the fact that he won the presidency. And I'm going to tell you where I'm at with it. And that doesn't mean I'm going to become some registered Republican, because I still find them a bit shaky. But when I see Attorney Bragg in New York trying to convince the judge and the courts to treat Donald Trump as if he's deceased, as if he has died, just to make sure that your convictions on those 34 felony accounts remains a part of the record, it just shows another level of patheticness. If that is such a word that creeps in. Once again, you can't let it go.
Right.
He is the president-elect of the United States of America. In January 20th, he is going to be the president of the United States. And you want to sit up here and waste taxpayer dollars.
What I'm trying to understand, listen, this is all cute, and I understand the theatrics. I get the content. I think that it's good for visibility. What I'm trying to understand is, what side of the fence are you on? And please miss me with that registered independent nonsense. Again, I go by the way that people vote. What side of the fence are you on? Are you on the side of righteousness? Are you on the side of conservative thoughts? Are you a Republican, or are you still a part of the Democratic plantation? That's the only thing people want people to do, is to pick a side. It's tired of fence riding.
And literally go before the courts to do everything you can to make his conviction a matter of record, knowing he ain't gonna get any jail time.
Mm-hmm.
You're not gonna be able to incarcerate him. You're not gonna be able to fine him. Sir, it's over. It's over. Democrats, it's over. It's over. I'm gonna say this before and I'll say it again. You know what I would do if I were Joe Biden, President Joe Biden? Especially since I basically gave the Democratic Party the finger because you kept saying, we follow the rule of law, we follow the rule of law, we follow the rule of law. And then you went and you circumvented all of that to get to pardon your son Hunter. Since you were willing to do that, if I was President Joe Biden, I would pardon Donald Trump. I'm going to say it again. I would.
He said that
Donald
on Chris
Trump
Kumo's show.
for one reason and one reason
on
only.
News Nation or something like
to
that.
move the hell on. Enough's enough. Enough's enough. You tried to get him if you Nancy Pelosi. You tried to get him if you Chuck Schumer. You tried to get him if you were the Dems in the Senate and the House. You tried to get him if you were the FBI. You tried to get him if you were the Department of Justice. You tried to get him. I mean, damn.
So if you knew he was being
Russian collusion.
if you knew he's being persecuted, an election,
What happened?
What we talking about?
See, we keep talking and talking and talking. And all we see at the end of the day is that you inconvenienced Donald Trump and you caused him headaches. Probably forced him to take a few doses of Motrin or Tylenol. That's all you did. You ain't doing anything else to him. He is back in the White House next month.
Thank
all
God.
That shit y'all did. All the stuff you pulled. You had your surrogates out there, your pundits out there. You engaged in lawfare. You did everything. And you convinced the American people, yo, his ass belongs in jail. And where you going instead?
Until these people make a clear distinction about where they stand and stand on it, I don't have no respect for them. And I don't like habitual fence riders. I just don't. Inconsistency fence riders, no matter how loud you get. Me personally, I don't believe it. I don't believe anything that these people say, and I think that it's all for theatrics. Let me know what y'all think inside of the chat. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. After hours tonight. I love you. I appreciate you. Teach Hanley, 40% off your first order, 20% off for life.